Welcome. Good morning, my dear students. I am Dr. Deepak More, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Sanjeevanee Mahavidyalaya, Chapoli. Today, we are going to study about classification and description of consonants in English phonetics. When we took an example of speech sounds, there are 44 speech sounds in English phonetics. 44 speech sounds divided into three parts. Number one, there are 24 consonants in English phonetics. Number two, there are 12 vowels in English phonetics. And number three, there are 8 diphthongs in English phonetics. Let us discuss the classification and description of consonants in English phonetics also. There are 24 consonants. Among them are 6 plosives, 2 affricates, 3 nasals, 1 lateral and 9 fricatives, 1 frictionless continuant and 2 semi-vowels. Introduction. Producing a consonant involves making the vocal tract narrower at some location than it usually is. We call this narrowing a construction. Which consonant you are pronouncing depends on where in the vocal tract that construction is and how narrow it is. It also depends on a few other things such as whether the vocal folds are vibrating and whether air is flowing through the nose. We classify consonants along two major dimensions. We divide the consonants along two major kinds. These are as follows: place of articulation and another is manner of articulation. The place of articulation dimension specifies where in the vocal tract the construction is. The manner of articulation dimension specifies how narrow the construction is, whether air is flowing through the nose and whether the tongue is dropped down on one side. Then there are 6 important aspects in manner of articulation. These are following manner. Number 1, the airstream mechanism. Number 2, the state of glottis. Number 3, the position of the soft palate. 4th, the active articulator. 5th, the passive articulator. And last one, the structure involved. Then classification of consonants based on a place of articulation. The classification of consonant is based on its place also. When we took an example of table of classification of English consonants, at that time we look, there are bilabial are 4, labiodental 2, dental 2, alveolar 6, post-alveolar 1, palate alveolar 4, palatal 1, velar 4 and glottal 1. When we study in detail the description of classification of consonants also. Number 1, bilabial. Bilabial consonants articulated with both lips. Bilabial, for example, P is voiceless bilabial plosive and B is voiced bilabial plosive also. M is voiced bilabial nasal and V is voiced bilabial semi-vowel. Then labiodental. Consonants articulated with the tongue against the upper teeth. When it is the position of the dental also. When, for example, there are 2 dental consonants in English phonetics, th th for voiceless dental fricative and the voiced dental fricative. Then labiodental. Consonants articulated with the lower lip and the upper teeth. For example, there are two labiodental in English consonants also. These are, for example, f and f, w, f, w. Then alveolar. Consonants articulated with the tongue against or close to the superior alveolar ridge. For example, t, t for tea, d, d for dog, n, n, n for name, not, l, l for late, look, s, s for soon, z, z for zoo. Then post alveolar. Consonant articulated with the tongue near or touching the back of the alveolar ridge. For example, r, that is voiced post alveolar frictionless continuant. R, r, r for room, rate, etc. Then palato-alveolar. Consonants articulated either with the tip or blade of the tongue. For example, ch, ch for church, church, j, j, j for jungle, jump, sh, sh, sh for sheep, shake, z, z, z for pleasure, major. Then palatal. Consonant articulated with the body of the tongue raised against the hard palate. For example, y, y, y for yet, yes. Then velar. Consonants articulated with the back part of the tongue against the soft palate, the back part of the root of the mouth, known also as the velum. For example, k, k for cat, g, g for game, y, y, that is ring, sing. Then w, w for wet, what. These are the velars. Then last one, glottal. Glottal. Consonants articulated with the glottis. For example, h, h for hat, head. Then only one. Then classification of consonants based on manner of articulation. It is based on the manner of articulation. The manner of articulation like a following manner. There are 6 plosives, affricates 2, nasals 3, fricatives 9, lateral only 1, and approximants are 3, or approximants or frictionless continent. Plosives. Sound produced with a structure of complete closure and sudden release are called plosives. Complete closure and sudden release, active and passive articulators come into firm contact with each other, thus preventing the lung air from escaping through the mouth. List of plosives are, for example, p, b, t, d, k, g. Affricates. There are 2 affricates in English phonetics. Sounds that are produced with a structure of complete closure and slow release For example, ch for church, j for judge, jump. Then nasal, sounds that are articulated with the structure of complete oral closure. For example, m, n, ny. M for man, moon, n for name, not, ny for ring, sing. Fricatives, sounds that are produced with the structure of close approximation, that is, active articulator is brought close to passive articulator. Very narrow gap and lung air escapes through it. For example, f for phone, fat, w for voice, very, that is thank, thin, the, that, these, this, those, s for set, seen, sin, z for zero, zoo, sh for sheep, shake, and j for pleasure, major. Then lateral, particle closure, sounds that are articulated with a structure of complete closure in the center of vocal tract, but with the air escaping along the sides of the tongue without any friction, are called laterals. For example, L for late, look. Approximants, open approximation, sounds that are articulated with a structure of open approximation are called semi-vowels or frictionless consonants. For example, r for room, rate, y for young, yes, yet, w for wet, what. Then consonant chart. We can discuss the consonant chart like the following manner. There are, the place of articulation is bilabial, labiodental, dental, alveolar, post-alveolar, palato-alveolar, palatal, velar, and glottal. Then manner of articulation, another side of this table is to be manner of articulation as follows: plosive, affricate, nasal, lateral, fricative, frictionless consonant, and semi-vowel. When we discuss 24 consonants with classification of English consonants like the following manner: p is a voiceless bilabial plosive, b is voiced bilabial plosive, t is voiceless alveolar plosive, d is voiced alveolar plosive, k is voiceless velar plosive, g voiced velar plosive. Then affricate, ch is voiceless palato-alveolar affricate, j is voiced palato-alveolar affricate. Then nasals, m is voiced bilabial nasal, n voiced alveolar nasal, ny is voiced velar nasal. Then lateral, l is voiced alveolar lateral. Then fricatives, f is voiceless labiodental fricative, v is voiced labiodental fricative. Th is voiceless dental fricative. The is voiced dental fricative. Then s is voiceless alveolar fricative. Z is voiced alveolar fricative. Sh is voiceless palato-alveolar fricative. J is voiced palato-alveolar fricative. Then H is voiceless glottal fricative. Then frictionless continuant. R is voiced post-alveolar frictionless continuant. Then semivowels. V is voiced bilabial semivowel. Then Y is voiced palatio-alveolar semivowel. V is voiced velar semivowel. Introduction. In chapter 2, we saw how vowels as a class are distinguished from consonants. In particular, we noted that vowels are speech sounds in the production of which there is, in the pharynx and the mouth, no obstruction and no narrowing of a degree that would cause audible friction. In this way, vowels are essentially a tone or a hum issuing from the glottis, with the vocal cords normally vibrating, since vowels are normally voiced. Such a definition of vowels might be adequate in most cases in distinguishing vowels from consonants, but it does not help us in distinguishing vowels from vowels. In distinguishing, for example, between the vowels in the English words beat and boot, B-E-A-T beat and B-O-O-T boot, or between the vowels in the first syllable of the Hindi words pitna, that is to beat, and to be beaten. The answer to this question is that differences between vowels are broadly or two types: difference of quality as illustrated by the pair beat and boot, and difference of quality as illustrated by the pair of the Hindi words cited above. To take the second one first, the difference of quantity is a difference in respect of the length of vowels. The other difference, wise, the difference in respect of quality is somewhat more complex, and it is this difference that will engage our attention through the rest of this chapter. Then, vowel description. In this section, we have seen that a vowel is essentially a tone or a hum. Therefore, what distinguishes one vowel from another in respect of quality is the modification of the tone resulting from modification in the shapes and size of the reasoning chambers through which the tone passes. Wise, the pharyngeal cavity, the nasal cavity, the mouth, mainly responsible for such modifications of the resonating chambers are the soft palate, the lips, and the tongue. For the identification and description of vowels, therefore, we must describe: number 1, the position of the soft palate, whether it is raised to produce oral vowels or lower to produce nasalized vowels. Number 2, the shape assumed by the lips, spread, neutral, or rounded. Number 3, the shape assumed by the tongue, which part of it is raised and how high. Of these, only the shape assumed by the lips can be cleared, observed by the eye, and therefore described in articulatory terms. As against this, the position of the soft palate is judged only by auditory perception. The presence or absence of nasality in the vowel produced. As for the shapes assumed by the tongue, only certain extreme positions taken by it can be felt. For instance, in the production of the vowel in the English word K, it can be felt that the front of the tongue is being raised very high towards the hard palate. Such extreme positions apart, most other positions of the tongue may differ so minutely from one another that it may not be possible to notice the difference. Furthermore, since in the formation of vowels there is no contact of the tongue with the roof of the mouth, the sense of touch cannot help either. For these reasons, most of the positions of the tongue are judged by auditory perception only. Thus, all in all, vowels are best described in terms of both articulation and auditory impressions. Number 1. Of the three factors we have listed for the identification and description of vowels, the first, the position of the soft palate, does not need to be stated every time. By convention, it is understood that unless otherwise stated, the soft palate is in its raised position so that the nasal cavity is shut off, and therefore the vowel produced is oral, not nasalized. Number 2, taking the second factor, now the lips can assume a number of positions spread. As for the vowel in the English word bed, neutral. As for the vowel in bird, open for the vowel in bird, open rounded for the vowel in hot, and close rounded for that in hoot, HWOT, hoot. It is common practice, however, to regard the spread, neutral, and open positions as unrounded and the other two positions as rounded. Number 3. We consider the third factor now, the shape assumed by the tongue. The tongue, being the most flexible organ of speech, can assume virtually a limitless number of shapes, every change in its shape resulting in a change in the quality of the sound produced. Thus, the differences in quality between the vowels in the English words beat, bit, bet, and bat, for example, are chiefly the differences caused by the assumption of different shapes by the tongue. Such shapes in turn are determined by two factors: which part of the tongue is raised and how high it is raised. These are now discussed. Then the description of vowels. There are 12 vowels in English phonetics. These are as follows. Number 1, A, that is long A, unrounded front close vowel. Then E, number 2, E, that is short E, unrounded centralized front vowel between half close and close. Then third, A, front unrounded vowel between half close and half open. Then A, front unrounded vowel just below the half open position. Then long U, back close rounded vowel. Short U, centralized back rounded vowel just above half close. Then long A, back rounded vowel between half open and half close. Then short a, back rounded vowel just above the open position. Then long a, back open rounded vowel. A, central unrounded short vowel. A, central unrounded vowel between open and half open. Then long a, central unrounded vowel between half close and half open. Then about diphthongs. Number 2, diphthongs. See as the diphthong figure. I am giving and some examples about diphthongs also. These are as follows. Number 1, yay, 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 that is page, day. Ow, so, home. I, sight, drive, 5. Then ow, now, cow. Then next oi, oi for example boy, join. Next ye a, for example near, beer. Then ye a, for example there, here. Woo a, to, cure. These are the 8 diphthongs in English phonetics. Please identify it. Thank you very much.